The night the black SUVs pulled up outside that crumbling building on the edge of Houston, the whole block froze. Kids stopped mid-play, neighbors whispered, and the old gatekeeper nearly dropped his keys. Nobody knew who those cars were for until a tall man with tired, gentle eyes stepped out and quietly said, "Room 12." Inside that room, a young widow named Marissa James was holding her daughter's burning hand against her chest, whispering prayers she wasn't sure God still heard. It had been months since her husband died in a construction accident, and she'd been scraping by ever since, one cleaning job here, one borrowed meal there. That night, power was out again, the tiny fan useless, and her little girl, Amaya, lay on a thin mattress drenched in sweat. Marissa had tried everything: cool rags, cheap pills, whispered prayers, but the fever just climbed. Her mind raced back to the market the day before, when she ran into an old classmate, Derek, who scribbled his number on a scrap of paper, telling her to call if she ever needed help. The paper was damp with her tears when she dialed. One digit blurred. She guessed. The line clicked, and she poured her desperation out without even breathing. "Derek, it's Marissa. I know it's been years, but I don't have anyone else. My daughter's all I have. She's so sick we don't even have money for food. Please, please help me." Silence. Then a man's voice, steady but breaking. "Marissa, you didn't call Derek. You called Jonathan Pierce." The name made her chest tighten. Every billboard in the city had his face, the billionaire CEO of Pierce Global, a man so far out of her world, he might as well have been on another planet. "I don't believe in accidents anymore," Jonathan said softly. "I buried my wife and daughter after a plane crash 2 years ago. I know what helpless feels like." "Send me your address, I'm coming." She wanted to argue, to say no, but Amaya's tiny hand burned hotter in her palm. So she whispered the address, then hung up, trembling. Minutes later, the convoy rolled in, and the man she only knew from headlines stepped into her world. He knelt on the dusty floor without hesitation, looked Amaya in the eye, and said, "Hi, beautiful." "What's your name, Amaya?" she whispered. "Strong name. Let's get you better." He didn't carry her. He walked beside her, steady, like a guard making a vow. The ride to the hospital felt unreal. Soft seats, cool air, strangers staring as if she'd stepped through a portal into someone else's life. Marissa finally whispered the question burning her chest. "Why are you doing this?" Jonathan turned his eyes glassy. "Because money is worthless until it becomes kindness. And because tonight you called me." Hours later, when machines beeped frantically and Amaya's small body convulsed in a seizure, Marissa nearly collapsed. She clawed at the curtains, screaming her daughter's name until Jonathan gripped her wrist tight. "Look at me. Breathe. Don't let her see you break." She hated him in that moment for holding her back, hated his calm when her world was burning, until the monitor steadied again and the doctor whispered, "She's responding." Marissa crumpled, sobbing into her palms while Jonathan's voice broke. "She made it. Marissa, she made it." For the first time in years, she wasn't crying alone. When morning came, Amaya slept peacefully for the first time in days. Jonathan brought tea instead of champagne, his shirt sleeves rolled up, looking more like a tired father than a billionaire. He told Marissa gently, "You can't take her back to that one-room apartment. Come stay at my house, just until she's strong." Her chest tightened. A widow from the projects moving into the mansion, every gossip column drooled over. But she saw Amaya's fragile chest rising and falling, and she knew she couldn't gamble with her child's life. The Pierce estate was a world that could swallow her whole, iron gates taller than any building on her block. Marble floors gleaming like mirrors, servants trained not to show surprise, though their eyes lingered. Amaya gasped at fountains, chandeliers, and portraits on the walls. Marissa froze at one painting, Jonathan's late wife and daughter smiling forever in blue silk. His voice dropped to a whisper behind her. They loved this house. It's been too quiet without them. That first dinner, the table stretched longer than her street back home. Marissa could barely swallow a bite, ashamed of how little she'd had before. Jonathan noticed and slid his own plate toward her. Then eat with me tonight, not as a guest, not as charity. Just two parents glad their child is safe. For the first time, she let herself eat, tears falling with every bite. He didn't stop there. Jonathan insisted she use her degree, something her late husband never let her do. The next week, she walked into Pierce Global in a modest navy dress he'd bought, her palms slick with sweat. Employees whispered the moment she passed. She's pretty. Maybe that's why he hired her straight from the slums to the CEO's mansion. Each word cut deep. Her new boss, Mr. Kent, handed her files with a smirk. Let's see if you actually know accounting. Hours later, she caught errors he'd missed. His brows rose, but instead of praise, he muttered, "Beginner's luck." She bit her tongue, determined not to fold. The whispers grew louder until they reached the boardroom. Directors confronted Jonathan. "She lives in your house. How can you claim this isn't favoritism?" The room's silence pressed down like a hammer. Marissa stood, her voice trembling but clear. "I never asked for a mansion, never asked for this job. All I asked was for someone to save my child. If my presence damages this company, I'll leave." Her throat burned as she spoke, certain her chance was over. But Jonathan's voice cut through the air like steel. "No, she won't. She is qualified, her work has already proven it. If any of you find one error in her files, one mistake, bring it here. If not, then the problem isn't her, it's your gossip." Nobody spoke. Not one. That night in the garden under soft lights and the sound of Amaya's laughter with her tutor, Jonathan knelt, not in the dust of her old room, but on the manicured grass of his estate. He pulled out a small velvet box. His voice trembled. "You brought life back into this house, Marissa. You gave me a family again. Please marry me." Her chest tightened with fear, with memory of her late husband, with gratitude she couldn't express. But when Amaya's small voice rang out, "Mommy, say yes, please," she realized this wasn't charity. This was a second chance. She whispered yes. From that wrong number, her life unraveled and rewove itself into something no one in her old neighborhood would believe. Amaya thrived later, becoming a doctor, her name shining in hospitals across Texas. Years later, Marissa held her twin grandbabies in her arms, whispering, "It started with the wrong number, but it ended with the right life." And yet, some say Jonathan crossed a line, using his power to sweep a poor woman into a world she never asked for. Was it fate? Or was it another man rewriting a woman's destiny because he could? What do you think, was this love destiny, or just another imbalance of power dressed up as kindness? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share this story if it moved you, and don't forget to subscribe for tomorrow's tale.